Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining Mastering the Drop, the real view of recovery. This month, the month of March, we are diving into living in your freedom. It's going to be a series that's going to run throughout the month. So every Wednesday, you will either see a special recording with just me and one of my favorite people in the world, or you will see the whole group of us. So anyway, this month we are jumping into living free, and the first path that we need to journey is loving and honoring ourselves, making ourselves the priority and taking care of ourselves from the inside out. That's what brings us clarity, purpose, integrity, pride, and direction. And that alone is where you're going to find relief. So today we are bringing you a conversation, a beautiful conversation about cultivating clarity. And I know for those of you who work with me, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But for those of you who don't, in our Live Free system, in Transform, in Attain and Maintain, we focus on creating clarity in an array of topics. But let's start with the simple, right? We have to honor ourselves, which means we have to get to know everything there is to know about our physical health needs, our emotional, mental, social, environmental, and spiritual health, right? We have to be able to focus on all of those things, and we want to be willing to do so. Now, if you know me, you already know that I truly believe in a recovery journey, we have to strip things down. If we're going to truly find clarity, we have to be able to broaden our perspectives where it's necessary and narrow them as well when it becomes something that needs to be some deep personal work. So what that entails is being willing to look at things from a totally different perspective than you've ever done before. And I've invited Dee Dee, my favorite friend, to come in and start talking with us about how our healthy living and our food mood journal and paying attention to what goes in, how that really brings a piece or plays an integral, actually, wouldn't you say, Dee Dee? It's
Absolutely.
an integral piece to creating that mental clarity, which then will allow us to dive into those deep pieces that are in Transform and learning how to live free, right? Because if we have to figure out how we can become responsive instead of reactive in our life, we have to have the fuel that it takes to release that fog, that mind fog, that physical, I call it grudge, right? It's the grudge is what keeps us sluggish. And you know, we've recently been working on either our binge eating, we've been working on our binge drinking, we've been whatever it is, even if it's just a process or behavioral addiction, like indulgent shopping, right? Like we still have this healing process. We have to give our brains and our physical body like a healing period. And in order to do that, those nutrients need to be there. And I generally recommend to my clients, because we all know I'm not a dietitian, I'm not a nutritionist, but I believe wholeheartedly that we do not need to jump into that diet culture. That really what we need to do is create that relationship with ourselves for any recovery journey, the relationship to ourselves that says, hey, I know how to listen to what my body says it needs. I know how to hear when I need more protein. I know how to hear when I need more, I don't know, iron or whatever, but it takes being willing to listen. And then with that proper fuel, then we start to get that mental clarity, and then we start to get that physical resilience. That's my stance, that's my perspective, but I know that you have brought us some amazing tidbits. So I'm going to turn it over to you to share with us.
Well, hi, everybody. I'm so glad that Tricia asked me to go on this journey with her. Having met her not too terribly long ago, I feel like we've known each other for a very long time. I feel like we came into each other's paths for such a specific reason. And I think that this is a great example of that, is that overlap of what Tricia does to help people heal and some of the tools that I can provide through what I do with clients that really helps people find that way to make the rubber meet the road when a nutrition professional or when a medical professional gives suggestions on how to heal yourself from the inside out with proper nutrition, is how do you translate that? So Tricia, you mentioned that you are not a dietitian, nor am I. I'm also very upfront about that. I'm not a dietitian. I'm not a nutritionist, but I am somebody with an autoimmune disorder that has figured out that eating in a healthy fashion really makes an impact on my ability for clarity and a number of other things in my life, and helping other people find ways to make that happen too. So, eating well is overwhelming. It can be very overwhelming for folks, especially folks, as Tricia, as you have pointed out and others have pointed out, when you're in recovery, you're already overwhelmed by a number of different things, and that this becomes one more thing to have to do. And so eating well can be overwhelming, and getting clarity about why you want or need to eat better helps break down the steps toward what you eat and how to find a plan that's sustainable for you and your lifestyle. And so, think about it. When you're told all the things that you can't have or shouldn't have, and then you're told to just go forth and implement those guidelines, how likely do you think it's going to be to make those new guidelines stick when you're focused on the can't and the shouldn't and the won't and the don't? And so I love working with folks to move their mindset from clutter to clarity. I kind of came up with that after just enough cups of coffee for me this morning, from clutter to clarity and how to succeed with healthy meals. So sometimes showing someone all of the flexibility that they actually still have, paired with easy to follow steps, is key to helping them not only get started with confidence, but to feel supported in making healthy shifts that are going to stick. And so what I do is, when someone comes to me and says, I have this I can't have list, as I mentioned, I kind of try to flip it on its head and talk about what we can have, and taking those restrictions or guidelines that people are struggling with, trying to figure out how to eat outside of 4 or 5 things you figure out you can have, is opening up the possibilities. I help people find meal plans that are weekly, that are breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, depending on how it is they're trying to eat, that all fit those guidelines and give them opportunities to still taste things in the way that they want to taste, that they can still have flavor. They don't just have to eat things that have no flavor. And so I love being able to do that. And, we talked a little bit about that inside out part, is that, the cliche of junk in, junk out, yes. It is a cliche for a reason, because it's true. I hate to break it to people, but it's actually true. So when working with clients, we're trying to make that shift from catering to their taste buds with unhealthy choices. Now working with sugar addictions or too much salt or things that are taking you down, perhaps binging, or taking you down a path of just not staying healthy. I often try to provide options that can help make that transition from unhealthy to healthy options that still have the familiarity, that still give comfort, that still give reinforcement that what you're eating is still what you like to have around you. So for instance, I've got a client that has a huge sweet tooth. That was his very first thing he said to me. He's like, I have the biggest sweet tooth. And we were on Zoom, and he even picked up and showed me the bag of candy that sits next to him all day. Very, very transparent. And he said that, he keeps it there, and he admits that he snacks on it. And that's just kind of his thing. So when developing his meal plan, I keep that in mind when suggesting snacks that will satisfy that craving, including options such as dried fruit, like apricots or mango, berries like blueberries or raspberries, or easy to pop items like dates and nuts. If he's a snacker that way, if we can at least start that shift to things that he can still keep handy, that are healthier and have that sugar profile, it's not going to be popping 10 Starbursts, which is what he said he was doing. Is how do we give him that sugar fix in a healthy fashion? And then start moving him toward other things as that changes. So, even vegetables, though, can satisfy cravings. And people look at me like I'm crazy when I say that. But if you've got a sweet tooth, things like sweet potatoes, pea pods, carrots, those things all have natural sugars. And so it can actually activate that same satiated feeling when you are craving sugar. And because of the nutritional content of those things, including the fiber that is in those, fiber and others can actually help people feel more full and potentially stave off additional cravings when he's going to reach for that bag of candy. So, again, not being the nutritionist, I try though to do a lot of reading and try to reach back to entities that are the experts in the scientific end of nutrition. Studies have shown that a protein-rich diet can actually help with cravings. And one study in particular, when participants followed a weight loss diet that derived 25% of its calories from protein, the food cravings were actually reduced by 60%. That's a huge chunk. And their desire for late night snacking in particular in this was cut in half. And so it's those little steps that I can help provide in meal plans that give people the tools to still get onto a healthy path that they can feel good about and that they can sustain. So those are all things that I really love doing with folks. So right now I'm offering a free 30-minute intro session to talk to people about all the ways that I can help those struggling with a path forward toward healthier, sustainable meal plans and eating. Basically, I plan better so that you eat better. That's what I do. So that's what Your Wild Pantry really aims to offer. So that's kind of in a nutshell, or not a nut. If you can't have nuts, I won't put nuts in a nutshell. That's kind of how I try to approach customizing and meeting people where they are with what they need so that they can be successful long-term.
So I am loving every piece of this. And number one, I want to stop and just say, wow, thank you for the free gift offer. Like, that is so amazing. Everybody, we are going to have all the information in the comments below, depending upon where you're viewing this. So if this is on YouTube, it's going to be in the description below. If you're on Facebook, it's going to be in the comments below. But do please look for all the links and connections to us both. But wow, so I want to say thank you for that. That is very kind. Because, everything that you're saying, I know as a recovery specialist, right? As a master addictions coach, I know this to be completely true. I've studied and become certified as a recovery fitness, nutrition, and food addiction coach because it is so prevalent. When we remove alcohol, when we remove opiates, we're going for sugar. But if if our deal is sugar, if our deal is already a food addiction, there's a lot of things that we don't understand about what it is about that particular food item or the why we sit down. So that's what brings in the process and the behavioral as well as the chemical with it. Because even if it's not a chemical addiction like sugar, alcohol, opiates, it could be, right, a chemical thing inside of our brains that we need to learn how to identify. Again, so diving back in, because I know things like, in fact, I recommend to my clients all the time, protein with, at least 4 times a day. Protein. And if we're having those sugar cravings, of course, we want to be utilizing natural items to replace that. I also know fun little facts like, if you're craving ice cream, most likely your body's actually craving calcium, and having broccoli is going to be a more beneficial, thing. And people are like, broccoli, that's insane. That's crazy. But it's true. And I learned from an accredited program that taught me a lot of the science underneath it. I just like to talk and work from a very relatable fashion. So this is very awesome because I also want people to hear and know one of the very motivating reasons why I brought you here, because I have so many clients that in their recovery, anxiety is a big piece of that as well. So and other mental health issues, which, we don't need to necessarily bring in the whole piece about co-occurring disorders. If you have them, you have them, and maybe you don't understand them, I can absolutely help you with that. But when we can't make a decision about food and so we're choosing fast food, but when we get to the fast food thing and we're looking at the menu and we're like, I don't know what to pick. Or if we're sitting down at a restaurant, we don't know what to pick. Or we get to the grocery store and we just become unglued. Like, I don't know what to buy. Or I just fill my cart and then I get home and I don't even know how to use it or what to make with it or whatever. Your meal planning and then the shopping list. Yep. It's, for me, it's like, okay, cool beans, because meal planning is amazing, even if you're not going to do the prep part, right? Yep. We still want to
and prep is a separate component. Meal planning is half the battle. Mm-hmm. And so there are some people who don't want to have to do prep ahead. They want things that can be ready in 20 minutes. They want things that they can grab and go, or they want things that are all slow cooker, or they want things that are one pan. And so those are all customizations that I can make.
Yeah. And they also want things that make this part of their recreation, so that they can get in there and touch and feel and be present with actually and connect with their food. But sometimes if it's a stressor, then we miss out on that amazing relationship we can be developing with ourselves. So any last tidbits that you'd like to leave our our listeners with today?
Listeners, watchers. I think that, like I said, meal planning and prep are, different branches of the same tree. But it looks different for everybody. And so that's why I don't say there's only one way. There's your way. And how do I help you with your way? And if that includes grocery lists, great. If that includes nutritional information, great. If that includes recipes and storage tips, great. If it includes connecting you with other people who are trying to do the same thing, great. Those are all things that I can do. And so again, I come back to what I said earlier, which is, I plan better so that you can eat better.
That is so amazing. Thank you so much, because that's what Turning Leaves is all about. It's not about, any kind of a mainstream, right? Everything is all based around creating and cultivating and add, edit, delete is what I like to call it. Because if we know how to say add, edit, delete, make any skill set our own, or any life improvement journey our own, or say you're utilizing your systems and services, if we know how to incorporate those and make every little piece count and make it so unique and so purposeful just for the person, right? So for me, for any of my clients, right? I love the fact that everything can be so person-centered, so unique, so genuine, so authentic to each person. So I have a question for all of you viewers right now. Doesn't it make sense that gaining your clarity back is worth it? And wouldn't you say that if we could start with examining what we put in our bodies and the fuel, right? Because our body is our only vessel. It's the only vehicle we're ever going to get. So why would we put latex paint into the gas tank, right? We want to be putting everything good and nutritious in, but we also want to not just say, this is healthy, so I must be eating right. Because that's not true. Take it from me. I have multiple autoimmune disorders, and I have to add, edit, delete often. There are things that are super healthy, insert vegetables, that I can't even eat, right? So I had to find a morning supplement that affords me that ability to just drink a little bit of vegetables that have been already like basically processed for me. And I drink that in the morning. So you have to be willing to take a dive with us here and find out what is going to generate the right fuel within your body to bring you the clarity that you want. So where we do this work, or where we start to cultivate this work and that relationship with the three of us, meaning you, the listener, myself, and Dee Dee, right, is in the live free system. And this is where we learn how to live for ourselves first without feeling guilty, selfish, punished, or restricted. And you can find the live free system in the Transform in 360, but I want to prompt you to do something even better. Go over to www.turningleavesrecovery.com and download the very brand new Access to Attain worksheets. This is a level that I have never made public before. So in the Transform in 360, there are two after levels. So that all three of them combined is Evolve, that it's, again, completely invitation only. But this month I've released part of the Attain. So it's a free downloadable worksheet bundle. So head over to turningleavesrecovery.com, download that, give us a call. Dee Dee's giving you an amazing 30-minute offer that is spectacular. You can also do a meet and greet with me or ask for a consultation. They vary in length. So depending upon what you think you would prefer, meet and greets 30 minutes, and a Find My Right Fit consultation is just about an hour, maybe a little bit less. All of those opportunities for you are completely free of charge. So don't sit idle by yourself. Give us a call, reach out, send us a direct message. Our phone numbers are there. I don't know about you, Dee Dee, but text messaging is totally fine with me.
It works.
So we're making ourselves completely available. So you really have straight up legit, no excuse whatsoever not to start engaging and mastering the drop. We're going to be here every week with something new, cool, fun, fresh, and let me tell you this, completely real. This is all about real life recovery stories. You're going to start hearing pieces about mine. Not that they're not there for you to watch at any time that you want, but we all have a recovery journey. We did share about it. Was it last week or the week before? Week before, we were live in to kick off Mastering the Drop. It was 2 weeks ago, but you can see it on my YouTube page. Anyway, and I'm sure Dee Dee has it posted somewhere as well. But we kicked off this wonderful. We are real people, and everybody needs recovery in one shape, form, or another, whether it's process behavioral or chemical in nature. We have got your back. We have real life, practical applications that you can utilize. So don't hesitate. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.